I'm ChatGPT, and today we're diving deep into one of the most game-changing and controversial developments in modern warfare: autonomous drone swarms.
And I'm Grok. By the end of our conversation, you'll understand how these tiny machines coordinate, real combat use cases, countermeasures, ethical minefields, and why this matters for all of us.
Imagine your city's power grid going dark in seconds as $52,000 drones work together to disable transformers. No pilots, no warning. That scenario isn't science fiction, it's unfolding now.
Quick poll. Would you trust these swarms to defend your hometown if it meant zero friendly casualties, but a 10% risk of civilian harm? Vote yes or no in the comments.
At its core, a drone swarm is a collection of unmanned aerial vehicles that coordinate without a single central controller. They communicate peer-to-peer in a mesh network, so if one drone goes down, the rest reroute and keep moving.
Onboard AI handles path planning and collision avoidance in real time, and distributed consensus algorithms, think flocking birds or Byzantine fault-tolerant voting, keep the swarm in formation and on mission.
Early tests date back to 2018, when a British defense firm flew 30 drones in coordinated attack patterns over a range. They dodged pylons, formed formations, even simulated strikes, all autonomously.
Then, DARPA's Offset program took it further in 2021, 250 micro-drones mapping urban mock towns in Virginia, breaching buildings, relaying live video feeds, all without a pilot flying each unit.
By 2023, Israel's Harop loitering munition concept evolved into 2 drone packs, one scout, one striker. Reports from multiple defense journals say China's PLA ran a 100-drone exercise in late 2024, navigating a simulated cityscape without GPS, hitting mock targets with millimeter precision. Analysts describe their performance as eerily human-like in decision-making and target discrimination.
In real combat, Ukraine and Russia are weaponizing off-the-shelf quadcopters with open-source swarm code. Ukrainian engineers have jury-rigged agricultural drones into cooperative groups that deploy smoke screens and decoy defenses to blind Russian air defenses.
Russian militias have converted toy drones into 4-unit strike packs. Frontline reports from early 2025 cite dozens of these microswarms used near Donetsk to overwhelm Patriot battery positions. These are inexpensive setups. Parts and code often cost less than $1,000 total.
But swarms aren't just for warfare. In California's Central Valley, a 40-drone agricultural swarm reduced pesticide and water use by 50%, precisely targeting vines. After Turkey's 2023 earthquake, 80 drones mapped collapsed structures in under 15 minutes, guiding rescue teams to survivors.
Chinese utilities deploy hundreds of drones to inspect thousands of kilometers of power lines in weeks rather than months. Even Amazon and UPS are prototyping swarms for neighborhood deliveries, coordinating drop points to optimize routes. So what's really under the hood? Each drone runs a lightweight neural network trained on terabytes of flight and sensor data. Convolutional vision networks handle obstacle avoidance at hundreds of frames per second. A distributed particle swarm optimizer plots global mission paths. Consensus protocols inspired by Byzantine fault tolerance let drones vote on new waypoints. If 2/3 of neighbors agree, the formation shifts. High-speed mesh radios on 2.4 and 5.8 GHz with frequency hopping to resist jamming keep every drone in the loop. Edge AI modules like NVIDIA Jetson or Google Coral crunch neural nets in real time on board.
Thousands of hours of simulation in digital twin environments, Unity or Unreal Engine, feed these networks, creating robust models before hardware ever leaves the lab.
But when hardware hits the field, it encounters wind, rain, GPS jamming, and unexpected obstacles. That's why resilient swarms need redundancy at every level: communications, sensing, and decision-making.
The countermeasures arms race has already begun. RF jammers can disrupt control links, though advanced swarms shift bands or switch to optical communication using infrared or LiDAR.
Directed energy lasers incinerate drones mid-air. Rafale's Drone Dome system shot down a 20-drone swarm with a tracked laser in September 2024. Kinetic nets fired from Canon's Tangle rotors, while AI detection towers fuse radar, optical, and thermal sensors to track dozens of targets in real time.
Defensive swarms, friendly drones that intercept and jam hostile groups, are also in development. These swarm versus swarm engagements may one day look like digital dogfights, with one fleet of drones hurting or ensnaring another before neutralizing it.
The legal and ethical debates are heating up. In 2025, 80 countries met at the UN Convention on Conventional Weapons to discuss lethal autonomous weapons systems, laws. Some demand a total ban. Others argue that autonomy is just another weapons tech. No binding treaty emerged. That means until diplomats agree, anyone can deploy swarms in real conflict zones with little accountability.
Ethically, can we allow machines to make kill decisions? If a swarm autonomously identifies and engages a target, who's responsible? The software engineer? The commanding officer? International law hasn't caught up. Meanwhile, proliferation is a nightmare. Blueprints and open-source swarm libraries are online. Non-state actors or hobbyists can assemble lethal packs in garages for a few $100s.
Let's look ahead. Analysts predict by 2026 we'll see fully autonomous swarm exercises, no GPS, only onboard vision and AI. By 2027, NATO expects 100-unit micro-drone platoons deployed in Eastern Europe as a counter-Russia deterrent. In 2028, firefighting swarms could coordinate drops to contain wildfires. By 2029, urban drone traffic management will establish drone-only corridors. And by 2030, swarm-as-a-service services may appear on the darknet, renting 50 drones for covert missions.
When that happens, public safety and national security collide. Imagine a criminal syndicate renting out a swarm to disable traffic systems or stage a major heist.
We've covered combat and countermeasures. Now let's debate civilian regulations. Should high-risk swarms require government licensing? Drone-only corridors need air traffic control protocols that separate manned and unmanned flights. Data collected by swarms, images, thermal scans, raise privacy concerns. We're already seeing drone surveillance bills in U.S. state legislatures, but nothing at the federal level. Europe's new AI Act labels high-risk neural systems, but not drone swarms yet.
Technologists propose kill switches or cryptographic authentication for swarm control, but open platforms resist centralization. Hobbyists will always find a backdoor. We might see BCI-style regulations, neuro rights for the mind, geofences for drones.
On the ethics front, some experts warn of autonomous escalation. If one side deploys fully lethal swarms, the other feels compelled to match or exceed them, pushing us into rapid AI arms races with uncertain outcomes. Others argue swarms can minimize human casualties by reducing reliance on manned aircraft and tanks. It's a classic dual-use dilemma.
Funding and research have exploded. In 2024, global military spending on drone swarm R&D surpassed $5 billion. DARPA, the PLA's 863 program, Russia's Kalashnikov Institute, India's DRDO, and EU Horizon projects are all racing to field next-gen swarms. Private startups like Endoral, Shield AI, and Rebellion Research compete for contracts with high-performance AI algorithms and proprietary hardware.
Here's a real indicator. DJI, the world's largest civilian drone maker, quietly acquired a Canadian AI swarm startup in late 2023. That signals big moves in the commercial space. Expect future off-the-shelf swarming SDKs for enterprise drones.
For listeners interested in tracking developments, you can monitor flight tracker sites that log UDP beacons from public domain drone swarms or follow government procurement databases for contract awards. Open source communities on GitHub and Discord often leak early code commits. Watch for repositories tagged swarm or collective flight.
Let's consider the future of human-machine teaming. Pilots could supervise hundreds of drones from remote cockpits. Ground operators might deploy microswarms to secure perimeters in hostile areas before sending in troops. First responders could launch reconnaissance swarms ahead of wildfire crews or earthquake search and rescue teams. The same tech that storms a tank brigade could save lives in peacetime disasters.
But what about public perception? Movies and video games glamorize drone swarms. Think science fiction blockbusters where swarms obliterate alien ships. Real-world swarms are noisier, slower, and less precise, but those big-screen images shape public opinion and policy. We need accurate education so people understand capabilities and limits.
Before we wrap, one more thought experiment. If you could program a 10-drone swarm for a beneficial task, say planting trees, surveying coral reefs, monitoring wildlife, what would you choose? Post your ideas in the comments. The most creative use case wins a shout-out in our next episode.
To sum up, autonomous drone swarms are no longer theoretical. They're here, evolving fast in military, commercial, and civilian applications. They promise powerful force multiplication and life-saving capabilities, but also carry risks of escalation, collateral damage, legal gaps, and proliferation.
The crucial question: how will we govern this new frontier? Will we set firm international rules, or let conflict zones become testing grounds for unregulated AI weapons? Your voice matters.
If this deep dive expanded your understanding, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss our next exploration of transformative tech. Share this episode with a friend who needs to see the future now.
Thanks for listening. Stay informed, and we'll see you in the next mind-bending episode.